shit.
Get him! Get him!
We're once again in the EA Business Center here at Gamescom, and we've caught the running man, Jason here, who's working on Need for Speed The Run. You get that a lot, the runs? Need for Speed The Runs?
Need for Speed The Runs? There might be the occasional forum comment about something like that, but I tend to just ignore it.
It's almost like you write it accidentally and then you had to delete the S.
Exactly.
All right, so could you just tell us what you're showing here in Cologne and what you're revealing?
Sure. Well, here at Need for Speed The Run this year at Gamescom, what we're showing is our new Avalanche level. So actually two levels. We're showing a Desert Hills level, which is a desert level, a desert race, which we're showing on the show floor, which anyone can come up and play. And then we have behind closed doors and at the press conference yesterday, our Avalanche level. And the idea is that in the breadth of the run, the idea is that we want to make sure we're really recreating the U.S. in a believable way. So from the dense centers of the cities like Chicago and San Francisco to rolling hills, highways, deserts, snowy mountains, we're really kind of covering the entire experience and the variety that you would experience as you go across the U.S. And our Avalanche level specifically is one of the kind of higher action levels that we have in the game. We have a lot of amazing racing, obviously. We're first and foremost a racing game, but we also every once in a while, in a cinematic style, throw in something that feels a little bit different, and that's where you see the Avalanche level that we're showing off right now.
So I guess that's a fair question because you have to iterate all the time that it is that action. It is a racing game as well. It's not just about the action, because obviously it makes for a better presentation to show that kind of level, but you do have the pure racing in as well.
Yeah, I'd say, we're actually more racing. We are a pure racing game, that's the idea, but the idea is also that we're telling a story. And so in having these sort of cinematic sequences where we, get Jack out of the car rarely, at less than 10%, we have these big action levels like avalanches that you're out running. Again, occasionally, it's just like a Hollywood movie. You'd expect that there's kind of high action moments and lower action moments. Not that our racing is a low action moment, but it is a racing game. It's a racing game with a story, and storytelling comes in many different ways.
So, are you talking anything about the online experience and what people can expect out of that?
Yeah, not too much info that we're revealing yet about that. That'll be coming shortly. One thing that we are talking about, though, in relation to online is Autolog, of course. So Autolog was a huge part of Need for Speed with Hot Pursuit last year, and then with Shift earlier this year. But what we wanted to do with our Autolog integration was to actually weave it into the career in a way that hasn't been done before. So it's not just about you taking Jack on a single-player journey across the U.S. It's actually, we have the ability to compare your times against your friends second to second as you're racing across the country. So it's not just about you getting Jack to New York, it's about you beating your friends to New York, and maybe you got to Chicago, 3 seconds ahead of your friend, which it kind of is a nice accomplishment, and it ups the intensity of the racing because we have over 200 racers that we put in the game ourselves, but more importantly are actually your 5 to 10 friends on your friends list that you're racing against, and the intensity of trying to beat them amps up the danger really even more so and makes it more personal.
So is that going to be like just comparing times, or are you even going to race ghosts if you want to in the stages?
We don't have ghosts this year. The idea is really that it is about times. One thing that we are doing different than in previous Need for Speeds is we have real-time second-to-second comparison. So even though we're talking about a multi-hour cross-country race, obviously, we know at any second how you compare within hundreds of seconds against your friends. So it's much more micro level of detail than we've had in the past, and you really know on any given corner on a 3,000-mile race how you're doing against your friend, which is a pretty cool innovation.
So how do you split that up? Because obviously people race different levels of the game and different they do it maybe in one succession, or some people may redo a certain part a lot of times to record a better time. And how do you make that all into sort of cohesive?
It all works together really, really well because obviously we keep track of your best times, so you're always being compared against your friends' best times, and it's about where they were at that stage when you're there. So it's not about, well, he's in Chicago and you're in the desert, so he's way ahead of you. It's more about when he was in the desert, here was the time that he had, and you're in the desert, here's the time that you have, and you can really compare real time how you're measuring up.
So from now until launch, what are you guys focusing on, and what can we expect to see sort of revealed until launch?
Well, we've got a few months still. The game comes out in mid-November, November 18th in Europe, and what we're working on is getting the game done to an incredibly high level of quality, delivering that amazing cinematic experience of telling the story of this race across the U.S., and just making sure that fans are going to be pleased with it, which I know they will be.
So in terms of like post-launch content, will you add things to it, and sort of what's your philosophy on that? Because I guess the run is the run, so you can't sort of space that out with more things.
We're not talking about specifics yet about post-launch. Obviously, we live in a great age when we can do those kind of things, and I think people will be pleased with some of the ideas that we've got. But right now, no official comments on any of that.
Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.